everybody doing? Hope you're all doing well. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button. And if you're watching on replay, make sure to hit that hype button as well. Couple of updates for you today. So let me just do my fiddling in the background. Make sure my setup is all perfect, and then we'll get into it. I feel like we've really been on a roll in May, haven't we? Harry and Meghan went to Australia. Very successful joint trip. Harry and Meghan went to Switzerland. Very successful solo trip. And I'm pretty sure we'll have at least one other joint trip from them before the year ends. And yeah, it's just been great stuff all around, hasn't it? Let me just turn off this music. There we go. Let's see who's in the chat nice and early. Let's see. Hey Shirley, hey Emma, hey Gwendolyn, Sandra, hey Girl Lewis, Clark, hello, hey Joyce, Caroline, hello. Girl Lewis, she said, I'm juicing a mountain of lemons and limes from my garden to freeze for winter. Amazing! Can I ask where you live that you're able to have lemons and limes in your garden? I feel like they grow better under warmer conditions. Like I used to have an apple tree in our old house in the UK, but the only other fruit that I was able to grow was strawberries. And strawberries, they're quite delicate, but never lemons and limes. Australia, of course. There we go. Right. Oh, that's why you're that's why you're up nice and comfortable, because we're in the same time zone. Okay. What should we start with today? What should we start with today? Let's start with, all right, just some final updates from Meghan's trip that I didn't get to. I think this was on the Archwell. This is on the Archwell site. Or was it the... Hang on a sec. Let me just go to the news updates. Ah, yes. A shared responsibility conversation at the World Health Organization. So this is just final updates from Meghan's trip that I didn't get to in the last podcast. Looking amazing in lavender, the outfit that she chose with Lily. So this week, Archwell Philanthropies partnered with the World Health Organization to host a series of conversations where Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, spoke with global leaders, advocates, and young people, focus on advancing the health, safety, and well-being of communities around the world. Across each exchange, a clear, thorough line emerged. While the challenges facing young people today are increasingly complex, there is also a growing clarity around the solutions and a shared responsibility to act on them. This was especially evident during meetings focused on protecting women and girls online and on proactive solutions to online violence. Just this week, mind you, I've seen two videos that came up on my feed. One, a female online commentator who said that people had made AI generated images of her hanging and sent them to her, and another one saying that people had made images of her nude. And this is just a sad reality. If there are images of you online, people can make those images. I guess the silver lining to this is that because there's so much awareness of this now, I think that while these type of actions are very harmful and hurtful for anybody who it happens to, I feel like there's so much awareness that it will start to lose its power in the hands of the awful people that actually want to create these images, because people will just realize, you know what, they're fake images, and the people who do this, and unfortunately is overwhelmingly men that do this to women and children, it's an act of acquiring false power in their mind. It's an act of abuse. So I think with time, we will finally start to get more legislation, and people will realize the mentality of the people that do this, and it will lose its power in the hands of these abusers. That's the silver lining. This was especially this was especially evident during meetings focused on protecting women and girls online and on proactive solutions to online violence. One outcome of the day's meetings was a collective commitment to use evidence to drive accountability. Diana Ligero of Together for Girls, who participated in meetings, shared insights from the newly launched 2026 Out of the Shadows Index, a global effort to assess and score how governments address violence against children. The findings point to persistent gaps in protections and prevention, and highlight how technology is changing how violence against women and children that spreads and scales online. The starting statistics shared out of the Office of Shadows Index emphasize the need for governments and industry to act with urgency to build safer digital spaces for girls and young people. Agreed. I have had trolls send me AI generated corn images and video of Meghan. So that stuff is out there, and I don't know, just sick people. Like the idea that you would actually sit down and think to generate those images, maybe the images don't come out right the first or second or third time, so you keep generating those images and then post them online and then send them to Meghan's fans. It's just disgusting. These people are disgusting. A further takeaway from the day's meeting emphasized the importance of having young people at the table. And then there was emphasis on policy interventions that meet the moment. That was highlighted in a meeting with the Brazil's Minister of Health. They looked at insights and outcomes and things like suggesting children, should spend more time outdoors, connecting with each other and engaging more fully in their communities. I definitely think that we need more third spaces. And we need more like community-driven activities. I grew up in the church, and obviously, I grew up in the church, and I actually grew up in a good church. That was a friendly church. And I categorically believe that we need third spaces where people can go to community, to have fun, to enjoy life. They don't necessarily have to be religious spaces, but they should be uplifting and supportive spaces, because I know what it did for me. And I have to imagine, it must not be nice to miss out on that, especially in your childhood. Like, it really, in those formative years, as Kate would say, it is important. So at Arch of Philanthropies, this work continues with a focus on solutions that center young people, invest in prevention, and advance the long-term health and well-being of communities around the world. And, communities being the key word there, and those communities, I think, while you can, yes, build them online, offline is the most important. And actually, I think the cure for this, more than anything, is just returning a little bit more to an offline world. I honestly believe that while social media and the internet is brought about many, many things, I honestly believe that we were just a lot happier in many ways. And the cure for this is, like I said, creating third spaces, creating community offline. I grew up in a time in London, youth centres were a massive thing where like young people would go. You'd have this centre where they could go play board games. They could get some snacks. I remember one youth centre that I went to even had like a music studio. Young people could go make kids. A lot of that stuff, due to austerity measures, decade and a half or so of Tory austerity measures took all of that away, and unfortunately Labour don't seem to be pumping money into bringing any of that back. But it's things like that young people especially need to draw them out of these dangerous online spaces, to help them to reconnect. And this is actually in line with some of the other things that Harry and Meghan are doing. They're working with Kaboom, to build, playgrounds for young kids. So all of the stuff that Harry and Meghan are doing is very, very interconnected. In fact, I hope that they lean a little bit more into the offline stuff, like what they're doing with Kaboom, because the two are very interconnected. And what a lovely speech and trip from Meghan. Let's go to your comments before we get on to the next thing. Thank you so much, Kat Harlem. Hope you are well, dear. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Lotte, you said as soon as Harry and Meghan return, Kate had to take a trip. There you go. I mean, yeah, I don't think that Kate and William are doing the bare minimum as it is, if that. And I feel like they're really only doing it because of Harry and Meghan's presence. Kat Harlem, you said, I'm just getting home from dinner, Cheesecake Factory. Kat Harlem, did you see the whole debate that was happening on TikTok sometime last year? And they were debating about whether or not Cheesecake Factory is a good place for a first date. Is the Cheesecake Factory a good place for a first date? Would you be offended if a man took you to the Cheesecake Factory? This was the debate that they were having. Now, I'm not American. I don't live in the US. When I went to the US, I never visited a cheese factory. I went to an Olive Garden, but I didn't go to a cheese factory. So please settle the debate for us, Kat Harlem. Is the cheese factory a good place for a first date? Would you be offended if a man took you there? Diallo, she said, it's a bumper harvest this year. Mandarin trees producing for the first time too. Yay! How long does it take for a tree to grow? A mandarin or a lime or an orange tree to grow? I think it takes like a good 25 years for an avocado factory. That has completely killed my dreams of ever. my childhood dreams of having an avocado farm, not factory, sorry. Avocado farm were dashed. Because apparently it takes 25 years to grow one avocado tree. So how long does it take to grow an orange or lime or lemon tree? Shirley said it's nice but not fancy. I went to one in Tampa. It's casual. William is trying to get himself invited to Taylor Swift's wedding. Well, I mean, they met at the concert, didn't they? Maybe he is. It wouldn't surprise me. It actually wouldn't surprise me if we saw them at William and Kate at Taylor Swift's wedding. Oh, girl, you said it's been about 4 years since you planted. Lime was first produced, then lemon, and this year mandarins. Well, bravo for your patience. Bravo for your patience, ma'am. 5 years, but yeah, that's not too bad. I feel like that's a cute thing that you can do with the kids or the nephews and the nieces. Plant the trees and they can grow with the trees. All right, on to the next thing. William. Oh dear, William. At what point do people just get fed up with the fact that William does nothing but go to football matches? Now, obviously, for the most part, we take things from the Daily Fail with a pinch of salt. But given that the Daily Fail is a mouthpiece, oftentimes for the other royals, I do find this piece that they wrote about William to be quite interesting. You know, William, I think, has pretty much had the same circle of friends since childhood, which isn't a bad thing. But I think it has made his world very small, and that's very typical of these aristotypes. If you went to one of these posh private schools, and then you went to the posh private college, and then you went to the Oxford and the Cambridge or one of the top schools, that's you don't really it can narrow your worldview. Whereas I feel like Harry had much more diverse experiences, going to the army, doing 2 tours, traveling, doing the work that he was doing in different um, countries in Africa. I feel like he's just even in his privilege as a prince, he's just been more exposed to different people, and so he's able to connect, and he was able to grow and take responsibility for his mistakes in a way that William just never did. And I think it's made William quite emotionally stunted. So there was this interesting piece in the Daily Fail where it said, as the Prince of Wales laughed and cried while Aston Villa secured its first major trophy in 30 years, he was joined by his equally enthusiastic band of brothers, some of whom he'd known since childhood. Oh, so there he goes to Turkey with the boys. Notice we don't see Kate with the girls, ever. It's always William and his boys, his man dem. We never see Kate with the girlies. It included old pal Ben Dawes, Thomas van Strotsbenzie, Edward van Kutsum. Oh my god, they all have aristo names. One of the sons of Banker Hugh and his wife Emily van Kutsum, who the future king grew up with. But the scenes which saw William 43 emotionally fling his arms around the group of men who had watched the royals' favourite team defeat SC Feinberg during the UEFA European League in Istanbul are likely to have stirred some sore emotions for the Duke of Sussex. Now you see how they bring Harry into this for no goddamn reason. William went to his 100th football match of the year, and you all have to bring Harry into this. Rather than singing Sweet Caroline and partying it up with football players alongside William and his squad, Harry is miles away in Montecito after leaving royal duties behind in 2020. They're still trying to make you believe that Harry is missing this foolishness. You know, this is a thing that society does. Whenever a man breaks away from the clutches and the drudgery of patriarchy, this is the type of language. Oh, he's no longer a lad's lad, and it's literally him just not drinking himself to death and killing his liver at the pub, talking absolute nonsense and foolery. It's literally just him stepping into a higher state of manhood, being a loyal husband and a father, being someone who builds, protects, and provides. And then it becomes, you know, and Harry made a point of this in the Netflix documentary. They'll say things like, oh, he's changed and he's changed because of her. Yeah, he's changed, and it's usually for the better. So after Harry made his move to California 6 years ago and laid bare his grievances with the family in a tell-all memoir, his connections with his old friends have suffered alongside the well-documented rift with his family. I mean, I feel like his connections with his old friends likely started to fall apart. As Harry matured anyway, and then when Meghan came into the fold, and he, um, he realized that there were probably some people around him who really weren't for him like that, or who are quite ignorant. This happens quite commonly when you have a white man who has never dated a woman of color, especially if that woman of color is black or is black or is biracial with black. You'd be very there. It's the first time they start to see the internal biases in, in their friends. And I'm sure for Harry, it would have been a shock because he probably thought bringing this gorgeous, beautiful, well-rounded, intelligent, well-traveled humanitarian woman should fit right into their circles. But you've got someone who's worked her way to the top, who's self-made, who's made her own of her own intelligence, not because she was born into some aristo family. And Harry probably learned, or he's definitely learned the hard way. He learned the hard way with his friends. Actually, if you are brilliant in all of those ways and you don't come from these circles, you get seen as a threat, and people don't like you. And he likely saw that firsthand with some of the people in his circle when Meghan came into it. More so, these people in these circles believe that they are the creme de la creme, which is just delusional, to be honest. But then having someone like Meghan in their presence must have been a wake-up call. So it goes to talk about changes in Harry's friendships. Okay, yada, yada, yada. So it's not enough that William's favourite team won championship for the first time in 30 years. He had to bitterly or smugly remind everyone that Harry wasn't there and that all of their childhood family friends have chosen Team Peggy. I mean, I hope they enjoyed their boys' trip at the expense of the British taxpayer. Because Harry's not costing the taxpayer a single darn penny at the moment. Which reminds me of another part of Spare. One of the sections where the male rarely references, when Harry describes spending time with his closest and dearest friends at his wedding, none of whom were William or his group. It also reminds me of the Centre Ballet Sophie Chanduka curious and still ongoing lawsuit against Harry and Mark Dyer, who is one of Harry's closest allies and friends. It's not enough that William got all of their childhood friends. William has also spent years trying to punish people for daring to take Harry's side or daring to remain friends with Harry. Indeed. And I can't imagine how much of an absolute headache that must be. What a headache that must be. Not only has he spent time trying to punish those who took up for Harry, also trying to get close where he can't punish them. And it's not just Harry, it's the whole institution trying to get close to the ones that Harry and Meghan are close to. Oh, insane. And what William doesn't seem to realize is these so-called friends of his, a lot of them just want proximity to him because of his prince and future king title. A lot of Harry's circle, especially the circle that he's now been introduced to because of his marriage to Meghan, we're talking about self-made people who mostly have their own clout. They're not looking for any more clout by being associated with other celebrities and other power players, because they are the celebrities and power players. So they just want to be around their equals. William will learn the hard way. Your brother is your brother. He was meant to be your closest ally. Not these randoms you're having a screaming match with at the football game. Right. Let's see what you all are saying. Joan Garcia being a member for 29 months. Thank you. Appreciate you, Jen Garcia. Wank mad, not in Meghan 8. Tabloids equals Kate and William mad, not in Meghan 8 photos. Oh, not quite sure what you meant by that. But thank you so much for being a member, Jen Garcia. Yeah, while William was watching a football match, Harry was here supporting his brothers in arms to mark 15 years out of Afghanistan. There you go. Telling me Harry's friends don't like Meghan. Well, remember Harry said himself the way people reacted. He said it in Spare and in the Oprah interview. Like, oh, he's changed. Why is he eating granola? Why is he eating healthier? These type of comments. Men who don't want to grow up are very jealous of men who do. A man's biggest hater will be another man. That's right, Jonita Smith. He's a husband and a father. Yeah, Harry has friends. William has people who kiss his butt and don't tell him any better. Okay, next thing. Apparently, the so-called investigation into Andrew is being expanded. And whenever I see a headline like this, at this point, I just roll my eyes because until I see Andrew in court behind that, standing next to a judge, I'm just going to take it that the headlines are being pushed out to make us think something is happening or make us think that some kind of accountability is happening when absolutely nothing is going on. So that whenever I see these headlines now, that's just what I think. Until I see Andrew in a courthouse, until I see Andrew behind bars, to me, this is all headlines, no substance. All headlines, no substance. So, this week has been full of surprises for Prince Andrew and the people keen to protect him. For the past few months, royalists have been diligently minimizing Andrew's decades of criminality and preparing the public for Andrew to get away with everything. And let's just be clear, that's exactly what they've been doing. That's exactly what they've been doing. Then this week, the British government released a cache of documents related to Andrew's time as a British trade envoy. And those documents do not paint a pretty picture of Andrew, his mother, or the Labour government at the time. Tony Blair was Prime Minister at the time. I mean, Tony Blair might as well be a Tory, to be honest. Still, it's been months since we heard anything about the police and prosecutors possibly building a case against Andrew following his February arrest on the Sarindham estate. Now it looks like investigators are broadening their scope and investigating Andrew's alleged trafficking crimes alongside his alleged financial and espionage crimes. They are going to be addressing claims of fraud, corruption, bullying, and preventing justice. The CPS may charge him with misconduct in public office for standalone offences or both. Now, did I not say when this whole thing kicked off, if Andrew is going to be prosecuted for anything, it is not going to be his perversions, it will be public misconduct. And he'll be given the most lenient sentence, if any. They're going to do everything to not acknowledge any perversions he may have engaged in. You literally have pictures of Andrew kneeling over a woman's body. We don't know if that woman is dead, alive, incapacitated with alcohol or drugs. We don't know how old that woman is. Seems pretty young in the photo. There's also another photo of him in a palace building looking at a small toddler, a small boy, who's playing with a boob toy on the floor. And if there was nothing creepy about the context of either of those two photos, the palace could have easily just released a statement and explained. But they have chosen not to do that. Those photos are floating around everywhere with no explanation as to the context of those photos. Why is Andew on the floor with a toddler who looks like it's just learnt to walk, who's playing with a boob toy? They are trying to avoid the very obvious here. The former prince was arrested at his Sarandom home on his 66th birthday, February 19th, released under investigation. Police urged alleged victims and survivors of his pal Jeffrey Epstein to talk to them. Thames Valley Assistant Chief Constable Oliver Wright's appeal came as it emerged to force this inquiry into Andrew's time as a trade envoy is now far wider in scope. Andrew's arrest was initially believed to be focused on commercially sensitive information he alleged to have provided Mr. Epstein. There's a number of aspects of alleged misconduct that the investigation is examining. We are speaking to a range of witnesses and want anyone with information to get in touch. Specifically addressing victims and survivors of Epstein's alleged trafficking offences, the top cop said, "We really hope they will come forward. I really want to stress that our door is open." The thing about this is, it's one thing to say to victims, come forward, but those victims has to be assured that some kind of justice will come out at the end of it, because to engage with the police, who themselves engage in all types of misogyny and abuse towards victims, can be very re-traumatizing for victims. So if he's saying, come forward, I hope that their investigation is victim-focused. And we're not just re-victimizing people who want to come forward. He said the investigation is continuing at pace with experienced and specialist officers working on the inquiry. And that officers are apparently in contact with the royal household and liaisoning with the government's business and trade department, to which Andrew would have reported to as a UK special trade envoy from 2001 to 2011. Completely unqualified for the position, by the way. Completely unqualified. Several women have alleged that Epstein provided them to Andrew for SEX. The Epstein files appear to show Andrew passing on details relating to royal visits and investment opportunity briefings, and also putting in a good word for him while on official trip. The wider police probe is examining other potential aspects of misconduct in public office, which carries a maximum life sentence, as well as sexual misconduct, fraud, corruption, and financial impropriety. Cops may also assess whether Andrew abused or bullied anyone under his care and supervision while trade envoy. I mean, if there's anything that the Epstein files made clear, it's that everything is connected. Andrew was using his position as Britain's trade envoy to pass alongside classified information to Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. And as payment for this information, Epstein trafficked girls and women to Andrew. Girls and women were put on the altar of these sick men's crimes. And it would appear that there seems to be documentation to prove this. And it's taken this long for it to come out. And I don't think it would have come out if it wasn't for the bravery of women like Virginia Giuffre and the other victims and survivors. Public noise. But at what point do we stop making noise and just march on straight down to the palace? March on straight down and face these people face to face. Because we're just... we're leaving it to the powers that be to bring justice when they're same powers that be that are protecting themselves and people like Andrew. Like, I genuinely believe that some kind of physical forced action is going to be necessary at some point. Because here we are. When were the so-called Epstein files first released? The only person in jail is Ghislaine Maxwell. Not just documentation from the Epstein files, but the evidence gathered by Gordon Brown, who poured through flight records and private airport data. Brown has also encouraged the authorities to investigate the credible trafficking claims by using any and all records of trafficking victims being brought into royal properties. It is rather interesting that Gordon Brown is the only former prime minister that is calling for this. Even the current prime minister, I mean, Gordon Brown was a Labour prime minister. The current prime minister looks like he's on his way out, also Labour, not pushing forward at all. So how come the former prime minister is pushing forward with this and seems more passionate about this than all the other prime ministers that have been, including the current prime minister now? I mean, if Keir Starmer wanted to score some brownie points, this will definitely be an issue to look at. But I don't think he wants to anger the powers that be. The Murdoch class. The Jonathan Rothermere class. Thank you so much, Kevon Slims. You said they wanted Harry to continue to perform for them. Indeed. Perform for them for free. I don't think they're going to prosecute Andrew. I don't think they're going to prosecute him. Hi, Tiger Mummy. You said, I'm so proud of Harry and Meghan and pray they continue winning. Indeed. We're just getting started. I mean, I feel like the last 2 years, they're really in their stride. Going on trips, the brand. I mean, they've been doing things since they stepped down, but the last 2 years, it's like really, really taken off. Exactly. Andrew's nickname was Randy Andy even before Harry was born. Okay, last story. Mike Tindall, whose face I'm not going to put on the screen. And with that, let's get rid of Camilla and Andrews. Mike Tindall, desperate for some attention. He also echoed what I was saying earlier about, Harry used to be fun. So Mike Tindall was speaking at the Literature and Arts Festival. What would Mike Tindall know about literature and arts? I have no goddamn clue. So he was speaking with James Haskell and Alex Payne. Got no idea who these people are. His co-hosts on the Good, the Bad, and the Rugby podcast. He expressed mock surprise that Haskell had not made an idiot of himself at the wedding and joked, "A lot of other people managed that way better than you, like Harry when he was fun." The Duke of Sussex is godfather to the Tindall's second daughter, Lina, but the friendship is reported to have cooled since the Sussexes moved to Montecito, California. At the Hayes session, which recreated the banter familiar to the fans of the podcast, Tindall also made jokes about Andrew. When Payne mentioned that Tindall was well connected thanks to his rugby credentials and the fact that he's got his own bedroom at Buckingham Palace, Mr. Tindall replied opposite end to Andrew though. Oh, because it's just so funny joking about an sexual pervert. He hinted that he may get in trouble for mentioning the disgraced former Duke of York, saying backstage they were like, "It's being recorded, maybe stay away from the subject of Andrew tonight." There were more gags about Mr. Tindall's royal connections. The former England centre had corrective rhinoplasty for his broken nose in 2018, and Haskell quipped, "Taxpayer money's fixed it. It's got the royal warrant if you look inside it." These people can't tell a single funny joke to save their lives. I mean, it's just a reminder that the family expected Harry to play the clown forever. Harry wasn't meant to become this mature man who found love and got married. He was supposed to be the so-called fun one, the scamp, the jokester. I almost feel like Mike Tindall was auditioning for the role that they wanted Harry to play but never did. So like Mike thought that he'd come in and be the jokester, the fool. I mean, why you'd want that role, I don't know. Anything for attention. I mean, Mike wants to stay fun. I wonder how Zara Tindall feels about that. Since Harry's version of manhood seems to really offend people like Mike Tindall, what type of man is he to Zara Tindall? What type of husband is he to Zara Tindall? Just saying. Alrighty. Let's wrap things up. Coming to almost an hour. Whew. Thank you so much for joining, folks. Appreciate you. Yeah, Harry is busy trying to be a global statesman. We haven't got time to kill our liver at the pub. Yeah, what is Mike Tindall's job? Is he still? He's not playing rugby. He's well retired, right? Is Zara still doing? Is she still competing in horse riding? I don't even know what they do, to be honest. The only time I hear about them is when Harry's in their mouth. All right, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will catch up tomorrow. Ciao.